They say the clothes make the man. That day, I was wearing a cheap suit I bought from a thrift store 3 sizes too big. I had holes in my shoes and $72 in my bank account. Or at least, that's what they thought. There is a specific kind of pain in being invisible, in standing in a room full of people who look right through you, or worse, look at you like you're dirt. I stood there, my hands trembling, coffee dripping onto my cheap shoes, while a man named Brad, a man who had been my boss for exactly 4 hours, laughed in my face. He pointed a finger at my chest and screamed those 3 words that usually end a career. You are fired. He thought he was crushing a cockroach. He didn't know he was waking up a dragon. He didn't know that the bum he just fired actually owned the building he was standing in. This is the story of how I lost my job on the very first day, and how I took everything back. To understand why I let myself be humiliated, you have to understand who I was before I walked through those glass doors. My name is Julian, and 3 months ago, I buried my father. My father wasn't just a dad, he was a titan, Arthur Vance, the founder of Vance Global. He built an empire of technology and logistics from a garage in Detroit to a skyscraper in New York. But he died wondering if he had failed me. He raised me away from the money. He wanted me to be humble. He kept me out of the spotlight. No one knew his son's face. To the board of directors, I was just a name on a trust fund document, a ghost. When he passed, the vultures started circling. I remember his last words to me. He held my hand, his grip weak. He said, "Julian, don't just inherit the company. Earn it. Find out who really cares about the mission and who just cares about the money. Because once I'm gone, they will try to tear it apart. So I devised a plan, a dangerous plan. By law, upon his death, I inherited 72% of the controlling stock. I was the majority shareholder. I was the king. But the board of directors didn't know I had formally accepted the shares yet. They thought the seat was empty. I arranged with the family lawyer to keep my identity sealed for 1 week. Just 1 week. In that week, I applied for an entry-level internship at my own company under my mother's maiden name, Julian Thorne. I wanted to see the rot from the inside. I wanted to see how they treated the little guy. I just didn't expect the rot to be sitting in the corner office. Monday morning, 8 a.m. Walking into the lobby of Vance Global felt like walking into a temple built to my father's memory. But the atmosphere was wrong. It wasn't the innovative, welcoming place my dad talked about. It was cold, sterile. Fear hung in the air like cigarette smoke. I checked in at the front desk. The receptionist didn't even look up from her phone. She just slid a badge across the marble counter. Interns are on the 14th floor. Don't speak unless spoken to. And good luck. You're in Brad's department, she said, Brad, the way you say the name of a terminal illness. I took the elevator up. My heart was pounding. Not because I was scared of the job, but because I was scared of what I'd find. The elevator dinged. Floor 14, marketing and acquisitions. The moment I stepped out, I saw him. Brad Sterling, the VP of operations. He was wearing a suit that cost more than my first car. He was leaning over the desk of a young woman. Sarah, I think her name was. He was shouting, "I don't care if your kid is sick, Sarah. If these reports aren't on my desk by noon, you can go home and stay home, do you hear me?" Sarah was crying, silently wiping tears away as she typed. My blood boiled. My father never treated people like this. He knew the janitor's name. He sent flowers when employees had babies. This was tyranny. I walked up, adjusting my oversized thrift store tie. "Excuse me? I'm Julian, the new intern." Brad spun around. He looked me up and down, his eyes lingering on my scuffed shoes. He sneered, a look of pure, unadulterated disgust. "Oh," Brad laughed, looking around at the other employees to make sure they were watching. "Look what the cat dragged in. HR promised me a Harvard grad. Instead, they sent me a charity case." The whole office went silent. "I'm here to work, sir," I said, keeping my voice steady. Brad stepped into my personal space. I could smell his expensive cologne and the coffee on his breath. "Sir? Good. Keep it that way. Rule number 1, Julian. You are dirt. You are the bottom of the food chain. You don't think. You don't speak. You fetch. Now, get me a coffee. Black, 2 sugars. And if it's cold, you're wearing it." He snapped his fingers in my face. I clenched my fist in my pocket. I owned him. I could fire him with a text message, but I had to wait. I had to see how deep the corruption went. "Yes, sir," I said. The first 4 hours were a nightmare. Brad didn't just want an assistant. He wanted a punching bag. He made me reorganize the filing cabinet by color, then yelled at me because he wanted it by date. He made me scrub the break room floor because he spilled a donut. But it was around 1 p.m. that things took a dark turn. I was sitting at a small, cramped desk in the hallway, going through some merger files Brad had carelessly left out. I started reading, and my stomach dropped. It was a proposal for a merger with Omnicorp, our biggest rival. My father hated Omnicorp. They were known for stripping companies for parts and firing thousands of workers. My father had explicitly forbidden any talks with them. But here it was, a secret deal. And Brad's signature was all over the preliminary drafts. He wasn't just a bully, he was a traitor. He was planning to sell Vance Global's core technology to Omnicorp for a massive payout, rendering the company a shell and putting thousands of people like Sarah, out of work. I was so engrossed in the file, I didn't hear him walk up behind me. "What do you think you're doing?" Brad hissed. I jumped, closing the file. I was just organizing the... "You were reading," Brad accused, his face turning red. "Who told you allowed to read? You think you're smart? You think because you can read, you're one of us?" He grabbed the file from my hand. He looked panicked. He knew I had seen something I shouldn't have. He needed a reason to get rid of me. Fast. He looked around the room. He saw a tray of coffees I had just brought up for the team. A wicked smile spread across his face. "You know, Julian, you're clumsy." "What?" I asked. Brad reached out and swiped the tray of scorching hot coffees. The cups flew. Hot liquid splashed all over his expensive Italian suit and all over the merger documents. "Ah!" Brad screamed, faking agony. "You idiot! You burn me!" The entire floor stood up. Sarah gasped. Brad stood there, coffee dripping from his jacket, pointing a shaking finger at me. "You threw coffee on me! Did you see that? Everyone! He attacked me!" I stood frozen. I didn't touch it. You knocked it over." "Liar!" Brad roared. "Security! Get security up here, now!" This was it. The moment of truth. Security guards rushed off the elevator. 2 large men. Brad was playing the victim perfectly. This psychopath attacked me because I critiqued his filing. He's unstable. Look at my suit. Look at these files. Important company property. Ruined. He marched up to me, getting right in my face again. "I knew you were trash the moment I saw you. You don't belong here, Julian. You don't belong in a skyscraper. You belong in the gutter." He took a breath, puffing out his chest. "You are fired. Get your garbage and get out of my building. If I see your face again, I'll have you arrested for assault." Sarah stepped forward, her voice shaking. "Brad, wait. I saw it. He didn't push the tray. You—" Brad whipped around. "One more word, Sarah, and you're joining him. Do you want to lose your health insurance? Do you?" Sarah went pale. She looked at me, eyes full of apology, and looked down. I didn't blame her. She was a hostage to her paycheck. The security guards grabbed my arms. "Let's go, son," one of them said. I shook them off. "Get your hands off me," I said. My voice was different now. The tremble was gone. The fear was gone. I looked at the clock on the wall. 2 p.m. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was the lawyer. "Transfer complete. The board has been notified," I smiled. It was a small smile at first. Then I started to chuckle. Brad looked confused. "You think this is funny? You think losing your livelihood is a joke?" "No, Brad," I said, dusting off my thrift store jacket. "I think you are a joke." "Get him out," Brad screamed. "Wait," I said. My voice boomed across the office, echoing off the glass walls. I said, "Wait." There was something in my tone, the tone of my father, that made the security guards hesitate. I reached into my inner pocket. Brad flinched, thinking I had a weapon. I pulled out a folded piece of paper. "You fired me, Brad. That's within your rights as VP of Operations. But there's a problem." "What problem? You're a nobody." "The problem," I said, unfolding the paper slowly, "is that you can't fire the owner." "The owner?" Brad laughed nervously. "The owner is dead. Arthur Vance is dead." "Yes," I said, stepping forward. The security guards backed away. "Arthur Vance is dead, and I am Julian Vance, his son, and the holder of 72% of this company's stock." The room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Brad's face went from red to a ghostly shade of white. Bullshit. Julian Vance he's in Europe. He's standing right in front of you, I said. And he knows about the Omnicorp deal. Brad's knees actually buckled. He grabbed the desk for support. "No, Julian, sir, I didn't know. It was a hazing, a joke. We do it to all the new guys. It's a team-building exercise." I ignored him. I turned to the glass doors of the conference room. "Gentlemen, you can come out now." The doors opened. The board of directors walked out. They had been watching the whole time via the security cameras I had the IT director, my father's old friend, set up that morning. The chairman of the board looked at Brad with pure contempt. "He's telling the truth, Brad," the chairman said. "Meet your new CEO." I walked over to the desk where Brad had been sitting, the seat he loved so much. I picked up the picture frame on his desk, a picture of him shaking hands with the CEO of Omnicorp. "You called me trash, Brad. You said I belong in the gutter." I looked him in the eye. He was trembling, sweating profusely. "Please, Mr. Vance, I have a mortgage. I have a reputation." "You have nothing," I said coldly. "You were selling out my father's legacy for a quick check. You treated your team like animals. You represent everything my father hated." I turned to Sarah. "Sarah?" She looked up, terrified. "Yes. Mr. Vance? Did Brad spill that coffee on purpose?" She looked at Brad. He was pleading with his eyes. Then she looked at me. She stood up straight. "Yes. Yes, he did." "Thank you, Sarah," I said. I turned back to Brad. "Bradford Sterling, you are fired. Effective immediately. Security?" The guards, realizing who signed their checks, grabbed Brad. Not gently this time. "And Brad," I added as they dragged him toward the elevator. Don't expect a reference. They dragged him out kicking and screaming. The entire floor erupted in applause. Not polite applause, cheering. Sarah was crying, but this time they were tears of relief. But the story doesn't end there. I didn't just fire Brad. I sued him for corporate espionage regarding the Omnicorp deal. He didn't just lose his job, he lost his license, his reputation, and that expensive suit. As for me, I didn't stay in the corner office. I kept the thrift store suit. I hung it in my office as a reminder. I promoted Sarah to head of operations. She turned the department around in 3 months. The fear was gone. The laughter returned. Vance Global became a family again. But here is the twist I promised you. Remember I told you my father said to find out who really cares? When I went through Brad's emails during the investigation, I found something shocking. Brad wasn't working alone. The emails were addressed to a silent partner at Omnicorp. The name on the email account was familiar. It was my uncle, my father's brother. The man who sat at the funeral holding my hand, telling me to take a break and let the adults handle the business. He was the one pulling Brad's strings. He was the one trying to sell the company from under me because he was jealous of my father's success. Brad was just a pawn. The real war had just begun. I picked up the phone and dialed my uncle's number. He answered, "Hello, Julian. How's the internship going?" I smiled, staring out the window at the city my father helped build. "The internship is over, Uncle," I said, "and I'm coming for you next." Sometimes you have to let people think you are weak so they show you their true colors. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to see who is standing on your neck. Brad learned a hard lesson that day. Be careful who you step on, because they might just be the one holding the ladder. I am Julian Vance, and I am done being silent. If you enjoyed this story of justice and karma, and you want to see what happens when Julian takes on his uncle in part 2, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. And smash that like button if you think Brad got exactly what he deserved. Comment below. Have you ever had a boss like Brad? Let me know your story. Until next time, stay strong and remember, the best revenge is massive success.